Welcome to Coffee with the Supervisor. Today, I have two gentlemen who love to ride motorcycles. And they are Nick Lamort, the Vice President of Long Island ABATE, and Jim Barr, the President of Long Island ABATE. And in their other lives, they do other things. Nick is the Regional President for Nassau-Suffolk of CSEA, and Jim Barr just retired as the Superintendent of Parks for Suffolk County. So these guys have had a full life, great careers, but they love riding motorcycles, and thus they are deeply involved in Long Island ABATE. So let's start off. What does ABATE stand for?
ABATE is American Bikers for Awareness, Training, and Education. It started out in the late 60s as a brotherhood against totalitarian enactments, and it was more of like a protest type organization. But over the years, we've evolved to work with the legislative body and work with all
And law enforcement.
and law enforcement, absolutely.
Right.
And so we've evolved and turned it into American Bikers for Awareness, Training, and Education. So we're more of a safety organization right now.
Promoting safety.
Yes.
And you cover Nassau-Suffolk?
Yes, all of Long Island.
And how many members do you have?
Just about 2,000. We're just about to break 2,000 now.
Wow. And I guess one of the goals of your organization is to promote safety amongst not only people riding motorbikes, but other people in passengers' cars to watch out for guys on motorcycles.
Correct. That's the biggest problem that motorcyclists have. You have some that have inexperience riding a motorcycle and they cause their own problems, but the highest percentage of incidences is where cars violate the right-of-way of motorcyclists. So that's a big emphasis that we put on, trying to bring awareness to the car drivers to look for motorcyclists.
Right, because if I'm driving a car and someone else comes in my lane or something, at the end of the day, maybe I have a dented fender.
Right.
But if I'm driving a motorcycle, I got much more than a dented fender. It could be a serious accident, it could be an injury. And we know that over the years, riding motorcycles have become safer. There's a mandatory helmet requirement. A lot of people didn't like that when that first came out, but that was a safety initiative. Tell us some other things that you do to promote safety with the motorcycle, with ABATE.
Well, for motorcyclists, first of all, we encourage them to take safety training, to constantly go for refresher training. The beginner riders have to go for training, and I don't mean by law have to, but we urge it. It's very important to get started off the right way. But I've been riding 35 years.
Nick, how many years have you been driving?
Well, I rode back when I was in college, way back in early 70s, and then I gave it off a little bit because I had a family and little kids, and I was put it on a side. Then about 7 or 8 years ago, I started again and met a guy like this and a whole group of folks that just want to promote safety and do the right thing and be law-abiding, and and then you got that whole other thing about outlaws and all this other stuff.
You're not into that?
Not into that stuff. We bring
just
good
having a
common
good time.
sense. We do a lot of work for charities. We raise a lot of funds for veterans organizations. And
Well, let's talk about some of your charities, because I've been to a number of your events, and particularly when you have rides, where you get several hundred people, men and women, out there riding from one point to another as a group, as a way of raising money for veterans groups or other charities. Talk a little bit about that, Nick, if you would.
Well, we do a veterans run, and for the last couple of years, we've raised quite a amount of money.
I know you met at the Dennison Building, you met at the Elks Lodge out in Riverhead, and you drive from those points to other points.
Yes, this year, once again, we went out to Orient Point.
Right.
I'm sorry, Montauk Point. And just a tremendous event that our treasurer, Bill Quinn, he gets really a lot of the credit, if not all the credit, for really setting the thing up. And we have road captains, and we have a road guy that maps out the trail, the roads.
Right.
And it's just a wonderful, wonderful thing. I think we even had a little cannon or something that we exploded. I got a letter from the county about that.
Yeah.
But that's okay, and it was all, all in good faith, all in good spirit. But we raised over $100,000
For veterans.
For veterans, and we bought a van, and Jim could speak more about that. Over at Northport Veterans Hospital, we presented a van. It was about 35,000,
Yes.
something like that.
And that van does,
and that services the veterans to get them transportation wherever they have to go.
Outpatient treatment.
Outpatient.
It's so important for veterans
Oh,
because
amazing.
they can hop on the bus and
Yeah.
be taken to Northport, which isn't,
Yeah.
isn't always around the corner. I used to represent in the legislature out
Mm-hmm.
east, and one of the things I concentrated on was getting a veterans clinic in the county center in Riverhead, because if you're out in Riverhead or further east, it's a 2-hour drive to Northport. And if you're a veteran and you're lacking transportation and there's a bus picking you up, it could even be longer. And by the time you get there, the bus is leaving at 12 or 1 o'clock. You got to try to get everything in 2 or 3 hours, and that isn't always possible. So very helpful.
I think recently the officers agreed that we're going to look at purchasing another one. So for this year, and have a presentation and everything like that. And, but we're self-serving. We're not self-serving. I'm sorry, and we just do this as a volunteer.
Right.
We don't get paid. We don't take any monies honoraria or any of that kind of stuff. It just comes from within our hearts.
Right.
And Jim's been our leader now, and he's a great leader, and he knows I always give him these accolades because as a leader myself, you just do what you got to do
Right.
to get things done. But it's just a great group, and once I met these guys, I said, man, this is it for me. It's to me, it's like a hobby because of course
Right.
I'm still working. So
And Jim,
Yes.
how many members do you have?
2,000.
2,000 members, and how do you become a member of ABATE? Let's say I bought a motorcycle, I'm learning how to drive, I'm very interested in it, and I'm looking for another group of men or women that do likewise. How do we get in touch with ABATE?
You can go right to the website, longislandabate.org.
ABATE.
Right, longislandabate.org. We have a hotline people can call if they have any issues, 888-LI-ABATE. And if you go to a motorcycle dealership, you just go into the waiting area and you'll see brochures that we have there with membership
Like this,
applications
it says
inside.
Long Island ABATE,
Yep.
American Bikers for Awareness Training and Education. We're not a motorcycle club, rather a not-for-profit organization
Yep.
for all motorcyclists.
and we mean all motorcyclists.
Right.
Whether you drive a Harley Davidson or you drive a Suzuki or a
Right.
Rice Burner, whatever it might be.
Doesn't have to be top of the line. It doesn't have to have all the attachments.
We welcome everyone.
Because it's for many people a release. It's not only a way of transportation, but for some people like yourself, a hobby. Something they may have a car during the day, week, and it's a weekend, and they want to go out, feel the air.
Yeah, it's just a great feeling.
When you ride the bike,
Yep,
it gives you that sense of freedom.
absolutely. And it's kind of tough on Long Island because there's a lot of traffic,
And that's why we're here to talk a little bit about ABATE, because the most common accidents that happen with motorcyclists tend to be what?
Left-hand turns from an automobile driver in front of a motorcyclist. That's
Really?
2/3 of the problems, yes. And we've gone to many seminars around the country, a lot of training, and I used to take it very personal when someone turned in front of me, and I thought it was intentional, and I used to get very upset. But we've learned through the years that it's more like if somebody's looking to turn, they look for an automobile.
Right.
If they don't see it, if they're not paying attention, they look for a car, they don't see it, they proceed.
Right.
A motorcycle is smaller than the object that they were looking for. So if they saw a truck, they
Right.
wouldn't go even though they have a quarter mile to go. So what we do is we say, look for a motorcycle. So therefore, when you turn, you go look for a bike. If you see it, it's going to register, and now
Right.
you're not going to go.
I think I've seen some signs about that.
Yes, yellow ones with black letters,
Right.
watch for motorcycles.
We have them all over the town.
Okay.
We've encouraged those signs to go up. And again, the message is, be aware. Before you make a left turn, look at oncoming traffic and make sure, even if it's a bike, that's a little bit harder maybe to see, particularly at night, you exercise a little caution before you make that left turn, because if you hit that motorcyclist, you could do some serious damage.
You're kidding. That's what we say, look twice.
Right.
Keep in mind, that motorcyclist is traveling 30 or 40 miles an hour.
Right.
Now it hits an object, the
Boom.
body's still traveling 30 or
Right.
40 miles an hour. So it's devastating for the motorcyclist.
It is.
A couple of things that we're trying to do, it's hard to get older people to learn this. So what we're trying to do is we go into the high schools, to the driver's ed classes, and we're giving presentations to the 17-year-olds while they're getting their license and they're learning to drive. We're trying to get them to automatically start looking for motorcyclists, not for cars. So that we find that that's helpful. We get a lot of positive feedback. But in addition to that, we just started a new thing this year for children sitting in the back seat of the car. Instead of looking for license plates from different states, we're asking children, we have a form that they fill out, how many motorcyclists have you seen today?
Right.
So now we have 4, 5, 6-year-olds in the back seat saying, oh, there's a motorcycle, there's a motorcycle.
Sure, we used to play the license plate
Yeah,
game.
exactly.
Yeah, we just turn it around
See
a
if you
little.
can find other states. And what it was is like, keep them busy till we get where we're going.
Right.
But this is a great idea for little kids. Start spotting motorcycles.
Correct. Now in everyday life, they see a motorcycle, it registers automatically. And the thought is, as they get older now and they go to drive, every time they see a motorcycle, it's always going to register to them. So it's one of the ideas that we're trying to help save some lives.
That's great. I know you're involved with veterans. You're also involved in other charities. Tell me
Yes.
some of the other charities you're involved in that you've helped.
Go ahead.
Well, ABATE doesn't do an awful lot of charities. We
Right.
try to. It's a motorcycle advocacy organization,
Right, your
so that's
whole
our
goal.
emphasis.
But occasionally
Right.
you come
But-
together to do good.
Right, so we try to do for children and
Right.
for veterans.
That's great.
So we do an annual run out at St. Mary's Church in Hampton Bays.
Mm-hmm.
We get anywhere from 400 to 1,100 motorcyclists. We don't charge anything. We just pass a plate around, a bucket, and people drop money in. We'll end up giving approximately $25,000 worth of cash and toys and food to the organization. So that's an annual run. And then, like Nick talked about, the Veterans Run.
Veterans
This
Run,
year,
right.
we're probably going to earn a total of $110,000.
Wow.
Which we're going to disperse at our October general membership meeting.
Yeah, I usually
which you're
make
more than
that.
welcome to
Mhm,
attend.
that you do.
I usually make that meeting.
And we
I
appreciate
make
that
that
very
meeting
much.
because, you know, a lot of people forget about our veterans and their service, and they have needs and issues. And when someone comes along and says, you know, let me raise a few bucks and see if we can help out our veterans, I want to thank you for that because that's a great thing that you do. I go to those meetings. They're usually at the, I guess it's the Knights of Columbus?
VFW.
VFW. Knights of
Center-
Columbus is next
Center
door,
Ridge.
Correct.
right,
Right.
on
Right.
Horse Block Road.
Yep.
The
You got it.
VFW, big turnout, place is packed.
Good
I'm
food.
watching the checks being given out, and I'm feeling real good about that because I know all of the money that you guys are raising as part of your hobby.
Correct. Right.
You're digging deep to help our veterans. It's a great thing. What else should people know about ABATE?
It's not a safety issue, but one of the things we do is we got involved in the court systems now.
Right.
Often motorcyclists are victims in accidents from people who drive drunk or driving without suspended licenses.
Or texting, which
Or
is
texting.
another big
Correct.
problem.
So it was the perception that motorcyclists weren't always perceived as a victim, and sometimes the courts weren't holding the defendants accountable. So we go into every court case now where there's somebody at fault when a motorcyclist is injured. Just recently, 2 months ago, a motorcyclist was killed in Selden. So we're involved in that case. We're on our 6th case now, where we go every month. We make sure that we have our ABATE shirts on. We make sure the judge sees us. We work with the district attorney's office. And the attempt is to try to get the courts to understand that that motorcyclist was a victim and to focus on the case. Don't
Right.
just push it through the system.
Right, just don't treat it like it's something that isn't that significant. It is.
Correct.
Obviously, whether you're riding in a motorcycle or car, it doesn't matter. You want people to be safe. And you want people to be cognizant, not texting, not drinking and driving, not doing anything else to take their eyes off the road, but to be a focused driver. And sometimes, you know, with drugs, alcohol, or texting, we find that people aren't paying the attention they should. And while that could result in a car accident that could be serious, if it's a motorcycle, it could be more than serious.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, you're a great advocacy group.
Well, we're
And
trying.
I would encourage anyone that is driving a motorcycle that wants to get together with some men and women that share their advocacy and their passion to join ABATE. And you gave out the numbers, and we're going to put it up as we're speaking.
Great.
We have a great AV department here that does does Channel 18, and they'll make sure the number is up there. So if
Great.
anyone is listening that would like to get involved, they can get involved. So I'm going to turn it over to you for any last words. Jim, Nick, it's yours.
Well, I'm very proud that I belong to this great organization, just to help people. It's
Right.
like an extension of what I do every day in my union job.
Right.
Where, you protect people's rights, what we do with the courts and things, and we help people. We're a service organization, basically, and to me, it's just an extension, and it's just the way it is. And like I said before, it comes within our hearts, everyone that belongs to the group. And we have quite a few females, too, that ride.
Yes, I've
and they're-
seen them.
And they're there. So it's not just a man's organization or a bunch of guys, that kind of stuff. So, but I want to thank you, Supervisor, for allowing us to be here to give us a little time to explain what we do and what we love.
I'm a huge supporter of ABATE. They do a lot of good for our community. And they give people who just want to enjoy the freedom that life offers, particularly in this country, to go out on the open road. I think of the movie from 1969, Easy Rider.
Easy Rider.
I couldn't let it go without mentioning it. 'Cause you said you were in college in the 70s.
Yeah,
I was in
yeah.
college in the 60s.
Okay.
So I've got you dated there.
Yeah,
But yeah, that's a seminal movie about.
Yeah.
But it talks about the freedom that someone
Yes.
gets and the joy just to be out in
Right.
nature and driving a bike.
Yep.
And I'm going to let you have the last word, Jim.
I'd just like people to realize that there's a human being on the machine. A lot of people say, oh, it's a motorcycle accident. They look at it as an object, but we want people to realize that it is a human being. They have families at home. They have children, grandchildren, brothers, sisters, and we want people to look at the human aspect of the people involved. And if anybody goes to our website at longislandabate.org, you can go on it. We have a lot of videos, a lot of pictures, and it says, hi, I'm Nick Lamort. I'm the president of CSEA, and then it shows him in another sitting on his motorcycle and says, and I ride a motorcycle.
Right.
And we try to put like the career person forward and then show that they're a motorcyclist. But to show that, that it's not an object. We're people, there's human beings on a machine, and just like that to be understood by people. And I appreciate very much this opportunity, Supervisor. We really
Absolutely appreciate it.
And your continued support.
Oh,
Thank you very
You
much.
got it, and I would be remiss if I did not mention Steve McQueen in The Great Escape.
There you go.
Great motorcycle scenes.
Unbelievable.
You see that scene, and you're like, wow. And he did all those stunts himself. That was great.
Just as long as you don't mention Marlon Brando, the
No.
wild one, because we don't like that.
I haven't mentioned that.
I know.
Good, thank
No,
you.
but-
We don't like that one.
But Steve
It's a bad
McQueen,
perception.
great writer.
Yeah.
Fantastic movie. Anyway,
Okay.
it's great. Thank you for being on. Jim,
Supervisor,
again.
thank you.
Nick, thank you.
Supervisor, thank you so much.